Good evening, Rekhumuditswe. I've made you this video to help you understand how you would go about answering a question like this. Firstly, the important thing is to read the information that you are given at the beginning. So they tell you that there is a circle with center N, 4 and 2 that touches the x-axis at point L, the line PQ with the equation y equals, and it looks to me as though they've written 4 over 2x plus 4 over 2, which is a very odd way of writing 2, but that's what it looks like to me, is a tangent to the circle at A. All right, so that tells us a couple of things. First of all, the x-axis is a tangent at L, and the line PQ is a tangent at A. So what that means for us is that at both of these points of contact, there has to be a right angle, and that is because any line coming from the center to a tangent will be perpendicular to the tangent. And that also answers question 4.1. So in 4.1, the reason why is because the radius is perpendicular to the tangent, and that would be worth 1 mark. Okay, then in 4.2, they want you to write down the coordinates of L. So L is in the same vertical line as N, so it would share the same x coordinate. And since it's a point on the x-axis, y has to be equal to 0. So the coordinates at at L have to be 4 and 0. That was worth 2 marks. So I would imagine accuracy on the x coordinate, accuracy on the y coordinate. Question 4.3, they ask you what is the length of the diameter. So we know that line NL is 4 units long, and that's a radius. So if the radius is 4 units long, the diameter is twice as long. So that means that the diameter has to be 8 units in length. Okay, again, that would just be worth 1 mark. Then in question 4.4, they ask you to determine the equation of the circle, and they ask you to do it in center radius form. So we need to sub in the values of a and b and r squared. So we would do it as follows. We would write x minus 4 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals the radius squared. Now remember, the radius is 4, not 8. So 4 squared would give us a radius of, or r squared of, 16. That's out of 3 marks. I imagine here there would be a mark on each bracket and then on the 16 as well. Okay, next question, question 4.5. They have asked us to calculate the length of KL. Now, this is where we needed the equation of PQ so desperately. K represents a y-intercept. So if I'm correct, and the equation of PQ is indeed y equals 4 over 2x plus 4 over 2, just seems a very odd way of writing y equals 2x plus 2. So what we would need to do to calculate the coordinate at k is let y be equal to 0, which means that 2x would be equal to negative 2, and at kx would be equal to negative 1. So therefore, the length from k to L, from k to the origin, would be 1 unit, and then plus we would need to go another 4 units to the right. So that means that KL is 5 units in length. Okay, and that question was out of 2 marks. So I imagine here it would be 1 mark for finding the coordinate, and then another mark for the answer. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do now is go over the page because I'm running out of space. So just follow me onto the next page. And here we go again. All right, so now that we're on the next page, the next question they want us to answer, question 4.6, is the equation of line AB. So if they want you to do the equation of a line, you need y equals mx plus c. So you need the gradient and you need the y-intercept. M is the gradient and c is the y-intercept. We can see that line AB is perpendicular to line PQ. We spoke about that in the beginning. And something very special happens when lines are perpendicular to one another. It means that the gradient of the lines, when you multiply them together, it would give us negative 1. So what that means for us is if we take the gradient of PQ and we multiply that by the gradient of AB, we will get negative 1. And that will always be true if PQ is perpendicular to AB. So if I'm correct and the gradient of PQ is 2, then it means that the gradient of AB has to be -1 divided by 2, which is -1/2. Makes sense. I mean, the line is sloping down to the right-hand side. We do know that it has a negative gradient. Now we need a point. So what we could do is we could sub in point N because the line goes through that point. We don't have A and we don't have B. And this could function as our corresponding X and Y. So now we can go ahead and go and sub that in. So I would write 2y equals 1/2x4 plus c. And now it's my job to work out the value of c. So 2 would be equal to, that would be -2 plus c, add 2 to the left, add 2 to the right, and that means that c has to be equal to 4. So therefore the equation of the line, it has to be the line -1/2x plus 4. If I am correct about the gradient of PQ being 2. If it's not correct, then you would obviously have to do it accordingly. All right, now on to the next thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete those answers, and that will allow me to write in the space. You could always go back and go and pause that. Question 4.7 now. They want us to explain why KLNA is a kite. So in 4.7, what we would say, the reason that it is a kite is because there are two pairs of adjacent sides that are equal in length. Okay, and then the very last question, so that would be 2 marks. And then the very last question asks us, if the circle was reflected over the x-axis, what would the coordinates at the new center be? So in other words, this circle would then end up over here. All right, so its center would be over here. It's still in the same vertical line. So if we call the new center M, it's still going to have a coordinate of 4. But when we reflect over the x-axis, it's y that changes sign. So that means that +2 has to become -2. So thus, if we call the new center M, its coordinates would be 4 and -2. And again here, Rekhomoditswe, 1 mark for the 4 and 1 mark for the -2. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful.